Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here. It's time for BAFTA predictions. Brother Bro will be back to react to the BAFTAs, but he just isn't here still. Let's just get into it. So in Best Film, I'm thinking that it's between Brutalist and Conclave. I know that Anora has had a good run of it, had a good weekend, but Anora feels like something that can win with Critics' Choice and Guild support. It doesn't need BAFTA. BAFTA is more likely to go with, something that has some spectacle to it. They did go with The Revenant. They went with 1917. Of course, All Quiet on the Western Front. I mean, if that doesn't show that the BAFTA likes big spectacle movies, what does? And so I think that The Brutalist certainly fits that bill. Conclave, that may be a British fave here. And surely, it plays into those British sensibilities. I think that they'll like Conclave. I don't know that it wins Best Film. I do think it's close, but I think sometimes it's overestimated how the British bias can come into play here. Something like Atonement, King's Speech, those movies were doing a little better than Conclave is at this moment for them to win. And we all remember that the favorite did not beat Roma, even though we expected that. Roma is quite a spectacle movie as well. The directing winner type of movies often do well here. And also, typically the BAFTA winner is something that is followed up from the Globes. Even if something else happens, even if there's a switch elsewhere. For example, Birdman v. Boyhood, there was a switch with the Guilds, but BAFTA still went with that Globe winner, Power of the Dog. They plucked that out of there. Again, 1917, The Revenant as well. So a lot of times they follow up with the Globe winners. Emilia Perez definitely feels like it could have won, if the Gascon tweets didn't happen, weren't exposed. It got a ton of nominations, ton of long lists, but I think that probably deterred some people now. I don't see Emilia Perez having that strong of a run, but it is also possible. The only movie that couldn't win here is probably a complete unknown. But I'm going to go with The Brutalist. I think it's that or Conclave. In director, this is a little easier. I think that this could be The Brutalist. Now, Brutalist has been struggling in this category a little bit. It's really been struggling. Did not win DGA, did not win Critics' Choice. And so it has the Golden Globe. Will it win BAFTA? Again, I would say that BAFTA likes the spectacle films. It feels like the most obvious winner here. Although maybe they go with Conclave if they love the film that much. They just gave it to Edward Berger though, so I don't really see the need. I don't imagine Sean Baker winning here without the film in Best Film. Audiard is also somebody that I would normally look out for, but again, I'm not going to be going too hard on Emilia Perez anymore. And I'm just going to go with that. Lead actress, I think Demi Moore may just sweep through the season. They doubted her at Globes. They doubted her at Critics' Choice. Now, Globe Critics' Choice, of course, we still haven't hit an industry award, but why would that be a problem for Demi Moore, who has the greatest industry narrative here? I remember Angela Bassett was winning early on, and the tides shifted. But I don't really see how that happens here. BAFTA likes the substance. It was probably number 6 for Best Picture. Could they turn it around and give it to Mikey Madison? And then that would seem like she's going to win the Oscar. Because if Demi Moore loses to Mikey Madison here at SAG or BAFTA, it may seem like Mikey Madison is back on track to win. However, I generally think that Demi Moore's narrative, just the fact that this is probably the last opportunity they have to give her the Oscar, unless maybe her career kicks off and she gets more roles like this. But, Mikey Madison clearly, she's a rising star. She's young. She's never been nominated before. It would be rare for her to win, but it is not impossible. Some are thinking Baptiste could win here. I don't think so. Again, I think it's often overestimated that they pick their British faves, and they didn't even fucking like Hard Truths. No Michelle Austen, no Mike Lee longlisted for screenplay. They don't care that much about Hard Truths. The nomination is all it is for her, unfortunately. And she's not nominated for the Oscar. The only time that happened was when Joanna Scanlon won for After Love, and nobody was nominated for the Oscar. Baptiste is not winning here. That's not happening. I'd be absolutely shocked. I think they're going to go with Demi Moore. And then in lead actor, I think it's Brody v. Chalamet. Again, a lot of people think it could be Ralph Fiennes, and this is, again, you're overestimating the British factor here. Sure, like Anthony Hopkins won, Olivia Colman won. Apparently they were strong enough to win the Oscar, okay? So usually you don't just win like that in isolation. I guess it happens sometimes, like Dev Patel's win for Lion. Look, Colin Farrell lost to Mr. Austin Butler. Benedict Cumberbatch lost to Will Smith. That's how this category goes. All right? It makes me think it's going to be Chalamet or Brody. Now, Chalamet, I think, is winning the SAG. Brody just feels like he would win the BAFTA. He feels a little more BAFTA friendly. However, the fact that they gave it to Austin Butler, you have to wonder, you really have to wonder if Timmy could take this. So I would not dismiss Timmy. I really think it might even be as close as 60-40 here. But I think The Brutalist is going to have a good day. And Brody's got to be part of that package. He has Golden Globe Critics' Choice so far. He's doing well. I think SAG is where he may stumble, but I think BAFTA should be decent for him. Supporting actress, I think we got to say it's Saldana. Really liked Emilia Perez. I think she may come out of the controversy unscathed. I mean, she didn't really do anything, so they'll probably be fine with that. Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, or Rossellini surprising for Conclave. These are things that I can like a little bit imagine, because sometimes we get crazy upsets in the supporting categories. Remember, both Banshees actors won. I guess that kind of goes against what I was saying earlier about there not being a British bias. I would say maybe it happens more in the supporting categories. I don't know. But anyway, Rossellini's not British anyway. But it's kind of like this European thing. I don't know. Makes a little bit of sense maybe. If they love Conclave. And, you know, anyone who wins the BAFTA, we have to look out for them at Oscar too. But I don't think Felicity Jones is getting there. I don't think Ariana Grande is going to win the BAFTA. I don't think it's happening. Saldana's the safe pick. She's the sensible pick. Kieran Culkin in supporting actor. I know that we're all on high alert to see if he will lose an award. Will he lose BAFTA to Guy Pearce? Will he lose SAG to Edward Norton? I've seen some flirting with Yuri Borisov. I can't imagine that people think that that's enough for a win. I'm going to just keep going with Kieran Culkin. Like, again, until proven otherwise. He won the Critics' Choice without a real pain in Best Picture. They had no problem with that. And I don't think they're going to have they might not have a problem with it ever. This is where I'm looking out for Guy Pearce. It is. An original screenplay. I think this is a close race. But I think that there's a more sensible choice here. I think Anora is a sensible choice, given that it was so strong, and, you know, it's going to be winning WGA, it's going to be winning the Oscar for screenplay. That's probably where you need to go. If you think Anora's winning Best Picture, it's probably got to pick up something at BAFTA, I would say. The issue is The Substance beat Anora at the Critics' Choice, even though Anora won Best Picture. That's strange. The Substance, you know, I was saying maybe that makes sense because it's like more, you know, of an original concept here. And they could vote for that, and maybe that will happen. And BAFTA likes Substance. I think that, you know, I could see it. I could see it. But what makes me lean one way over the other is that Anora is in Best Film. The Substance is not. So that's where I'm at here. I only got adapted screenplay. This is Conclave. We don't really need to discuss. Literally everybody knows it. 97% of users on Award Expert know it. We don't need to talk about it. That's like, god damn, that's locked in. Casting. Let's see what people think about this. Okay, Conclave and Nora. Yeah, sure. So, casting's kind of tricky. The nominations are tricky to predict. The winners are tricky to predict. The one pattern that it seems like we can spot is often a actor who goes on to win an award will win in casting as well. And this is why I predicted The Holdovers to win last year, because Divine Joy Randolph was going to win an award. Elvis won here, and Joker won here, you know, pretty much for like one performance. Of course, Elvis winning here, you know, you got to think about a certain film. You got to think about a certain film that's in the lineup. Obviously, a complete unknown. Now, if we look here, probably no actors will win, according to my predictions, I would say. You know, maybe Conclave can surprise with something. Maybe Anora surprises with an acting win. But I would say the most likely here is Timmy winning. I would say that's the most likely upset. And even if he's just the closest, like, that could be good enough for me to say, hey, look, this is a weird category, and I'm just going to go with complete unknown. Also, most of these films were not nominated. Actually, all of these films didn't get a SAG Ensemble nomination. But of course, this year, that rule broke in the nominations, where there's usually only one. This year there's 3. So sure, Conclave could win as well. I mean, that, like, if you're actually going off of a best ensemble, that makes sense. But when we look at best casting, it seems like they are fine awarding a movie that's, you know, mainly one good casting choice. Austin Butler, Elvis, Joaquin Phoenix, Joker. Holdovers has like 3 noteworthy performances. Complete Unknown it's got, you're casting the roles of several, real people who are great in the film. It has a great ensemble as well. It has like a lot of boxes for this. A lot of times this is like the only award that a film wins at BAFTA. So this is what I'm doing. I'm doing Complete Unknown. It's an intuition pick. It could be Conclave. It could be the Apprentice, Kneecap, whatever. Honora, I could see it. In general, I think that it makes sense to associate Sean Baker's films with casting. And Mikey Madison is everybody's an amazing find in it. So that is number 2 for me. I think that's very possible that Honora can have its one win here. And again, Mikey Madison is probably number 2 for actress, I would assess. So that's fine. We're going to go with that. We're going to say Honora's number 2. In British film, we got Conclave. There's no doubt about it. 95% of you think so. We're done. British debut, it's Kneecap. I'm not even going to, maybe sometimes they do surprise things in this category. I don't really care. I have to predict Kneecap. Non-English film. Emilia Perez is nominated in Best Film. I pick Emilia Perez. I'm a simple man, okay? Some of you are predicting I'm Still Here. BAFTA didn't give a fuck about I'm Still Here. They didn't longlist it for shit. So what has to happen in order for it to win is that they would need to say, oh, the Oscars nominated that? Well, I guess I better go see it. And then they go, oh, I have so many regrets. Oh, I really wish I nominated that film. And sure, could that happen? I'm not going to say no. But Kneecap made their 10. All We Imagine Is Light got more long list mentions. I'm Still Here was nothing to them. It has to have become something to win. And look, Emilia Perez, I know there's controversy on it, but it's in Best Film. I think that's what's gonna happen here. Documentary, we're going with No Other Land here. I'm betting on that until it loses. Animated film, this is tricky AF. Tricky AF. The only movie that doesn't have a shot is Inside Out 2. Now, Flow, some people are looking at that and they're saying, oh, it's like Boy and the Heron. And that won BAFTA last year. And then it went on to win the Oscar. And it started at the Golden Globes. Flow may be seen less by others than Wild Robot and Wallace and Gromit. The issue here is that they're now allowing the entire Academy to vote in this category. And so that would hurt Flow. Could it win? Yeah, I think there's a good shot. People are liking Flow. People are throwing awards at Flow. The Wild Robot is a huge contender here as well. BAFTA often goes with the animated feature Oscar winner, and they often go with films from the US. The only time they didn't go for a film from the US was last year with Boy and the Heron. The Wild Robot definitely fits the bill. It may be winning animated feature at the Oscars, and that makes it a huge contender. Now, Wallace and Gromit, on the other hand, that is suggesting that the Brits are going to go with a Brit pick. Now, I haven't been predicting things to happen because British yet, but maybe this is the first time that I do. Maybe 1 or 2 have to happen a year, okay? And Wallace and Gromit, they're national treasures, aren't they? Wallace and Gromit has never lost a BAFTA so far when you look at their nominations in children's film and, short film, but they've never competed in this category. Now, the Were Rabbit film probably would have won, I'm sure, if they had the category back then. But, we got some real competition between this and children's film, which is not an award expert, but it is on Gold Derby. It could go to any of the 3 films. Children's film is very hard to predict because it doesn't necessarily correlate with animated film, although sometimes it does. And my feeling is that Wallace and Gromit probably will win one of them, maybe both. Wild Robot could win one or both, but I feel like the world is going to be that Wallace and Gromit has one of them. So I'm betting on Wallace and Gromit in both. If I'm right, that gives me a huge advantage over others who are predicting Wild Robot, but I think it's a fair thing to do. And Wallace and Gromit had a ton of viewership on its first weekend on Netflix. It was crazy how many people watched it. Does that overrule the Wild Robot as good as, people think that film is? That film also has a score nomination, but it's not like it overperformed on the long list. We didn't see it in adapted screenplay. We didn't see it in sound, which it has an Oscar nomination for. Spider-Verse had a score nomination at BAFTA, and it lost. I'm a little torn, but I'm going to go with Wallace and Gromit. And I'm going to say the Brits want to give that the award. Wallace and Gromit, this is your chance to give it the biggest award that's ever gotten, the Animated Feature Award. And the Children's Film Award also seems up its alley, so I'm predicting it for both. It could go many ways. It could go 3 ways. In cinematography, I'm going with The Brutalist. I think it makes the most sense to win the Oscar, and we got to see it win something before that happens. ASC also could go Brutalist, but I really think Nosferatu is a serious challenger here. Now, winning the Critics' Choice, of course I did predict it, but it was based on critics groups doing something. The British Society of Cinematographers gave it to The Brutalist. That's a good sign for it. I think it's possible that ASC and or BAFTA goes for Nosferatu. Then we got a real race on our hands. But I'm going to say The Brutalist. I'm going to say it is a good day here. And often films like The Brutalist, big spectacle films that do really well at BAFTA, are winning a lot of awards, okay? Especially if it's in Best Film, I would expect it to have maybe like 5+ wins. In editing, this is tricky. We all know that this makes no sense. Challengers won at Critics' Choice. Well-deserved, not nominated here or at Oscar. You've got Conclave, which a lot of people seem to be defaulting to. They're like, oh, it's a tightly made thriller. That kind of makes sense. But I'm not sure Conclave makes sense to win editing. I don't think that it quite... it's not the most editing, that's for sure. It's a very carefully edited film, and I actually wouldn't mind if it won the Oscar. I think it's really well done. And of course, the BAFTA will probably like Conclave. If it wins here, it'll be a very good... Everyone's going to be predicting it for the Oscar, we'll just say that. Another movie that people are predicting for the Oscar is Anora. Anora, it's the frontrunner, so let's put it in the top 2, shall we? For Oscar, but I don't think it's the frontrunner of BAFTA. It'd be weird if it won BAFTA. BAFTA usually does go with the most editing, perhaps even more so than the Oscars. They love the most editing. Vice, racing films like Rush and Senna. Okay, if we had a racing film here, it'd be a no-brainer. Dune, they didn't give it to the first. Amelia Perez, you could make a case that has the most editing, but I think that it's not strong enough to win here. If there's one film here that has flashy editing, and it's in here because of the flashy editing, it's Kneecap. It's Kneecap. It doesn't have like supremely flashy editing the way of like Vice or, something like a Ford v Ferrari or Everything Everywhere or Top Gun Maverick. But it has its moments. It's got the lyrics on screen. It's got a lot of style to the editing in parts. And they like Kneecap a lot. Can't be underestimated that they really did like the film. It got a screenplay nomination and it was in their picture 10. And it has casting. Sue me, I'm going with Kneecap here. I think that we're in for full chaos when it comes to the Oscars. And right now, I happen to be leaning towards Wicked winning editing because I think people might think about the last scene and, the big crescendo of it. It's kind of a spectacle film. The Oscars think so. They nominated it for 10 Oscars. And it has the best shot to win sound out of anything that's nominated there. So I have Wicked for editing at the Oscars for now. If Conclave wins here, I will definitely have to consider Conclave. But I just don't quite buy that Conclave or Anora makes so much sense to win editing. I don't think that they fit the bill that well with past winners. Especially Anora, I don't think fits the bill. Conclave wouldn't be insane. And also, people overestimate how Best Picture is tied to Best Editing. And when they do pair together, usually that film also has like the most editing. We're going with Kneecap. We're being crazy. What do you think? What do they think? They think Dune's winning. Ha! I mean, good luck. And Kneecap has 3%. Look, we're going out on a limb here, all right? They've done crazy things in editing at BAFTA, too. They will do crazy things that you do not expect. And they will do films that are not in Best Film. Production design. We know costumes is going to Wicked. Let's just talk about costumes. Costumes is going to Wicked. Could it go to Nosferatu as the upset? Sure. Is it going to Wicked? Yes. That's just going to carry through. Now, production design, I think the Oscar's going to Wicked. But there could be an upset here. Apparently 61% of people think it's Wicked and other people have upsets. Now, could Dune upset in a category? Maybe. I don't think it's going to be here. I think that The Brutalist actually is the dark horse in perhaps an okay but not, one-to-one comparison. Is The Zone of Interest versus Oppenheimer in sound. Where the film that had, a quieter but, more calculated use of sound won. And maybe that's The Brutalist. I don't think The Brutalist has, like, the most stunning production design I've ever seen. It's a film about architecture. It plays into the story well. And maybe people will go based off of that. But for now, I gotta say that the film with the most production design wins. And I think that's going to be Wicked. It's not supremely well loved at BAFTA, but it has all the necessary nominations really outside of, like, film, director, screenplay. Generally, you go with what you think's winning the Oscar. And if something else wins here, then Wicked's not so secure for production design, is it? Something else could win. In makeup and hair, we got The Substance. we're done. We're done. It's The Substance. Congratulations on the sweep. In visual effects, you know, the Apes movie, that won VES, but like the Oscars, they are not going to go with the Apes movies, and they haven't in the past. They're going with Dune Part 2. It's an award decided on by all voters. The Apes movie, maybe it's the most impressive to somebody who works in VFX, but Dune is the movie that everybody has seen, and it's played in other categories. So we're going with Dune, obviously. In sound, I'm going with Dune. I would be surprised if something else won. It would be cool if something like, you know, Blitz or The Substance won. And maybe they could do something like that. Those films are not nominated for the Oscar, so it would make us all wonder if Dune's really weak and if something like Wicked can win. But, I mean, Dune has the most sound. That's for sure. And we will go to original score, and we will say The Brutalist. Now, sure, Conclave could have a good day and sweep or whatever, but they gave this guy and Conclave, filmmakers, all the awards for All Quiet. Like, I don't know if they're going to double down and go with all that again. I think The Brutalist needs to win something big before it wins the Oscar here. And I just think score has always made sense for that movie ever since I saw it. So I'm going with The Brutalist here. You know, yeah, it is very similar to the Oscar predictions. And I've got the tech categories matching all but one in editing with the Oscars. And in the above the lines, the only differences I have are picture and director. Is that a realistic outcome for BAFTA? Yeah, they're probably going to throw in a surprise in an acting category. Oh, maybe not. I think there's probably going to be a tech surprise or two. There may be another above the line surprise or something. Maybe Substance wins screenplay. Like, I think I would say I'm playing it safe here, but those are the predictions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Do you think they're going cray-cray for Conclave? Didn't rhyme. Do you think the BAFTAs will insist on The Brutalist?